this is going to play off the cusp. I don't have any of our outlines out.
No,
so
we don't.
we'll see what happens.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and welcome. So excited that you're all here. This is the last Friday night services before our high holidays start. So more on that during our announcements stage. We have a lot going on this high holidays. I also want to thank Mutual Brothers for our music this evening. Before we get started with the Mutual Brothers, though, I'd like to actually invite Judy and Roger up here to light the Shabbat candles for us, which you can find on page 120. Thank you. Okay, we're hitting it off with Hine Matov on page 128. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right.
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יא לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יא לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יא לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יא לה 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 לה.
You know, Josh, fun fact about that prayer book right there. Why don't you lift it up? It's the Shabbat Mishkan Tefillah, and it has two different page numbers on it. The page numbers for this and the page numbers for itself. It's very confusing. Okay. Moving along. Lechadodi on page 138. Thank you. Oh, and before you go, we're going to recite 1, 2, 5, and 9. Is that correct? And when we get to paragraph 9, I encourage all of you to stand up and greet the Shabbat bride towards the entrance. Okay, here we go.
לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, נקבלה. שמור וזכור בלבי אחד, השמיענו אל המבחן. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשמו תפארת ותהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה. מראש מקדם נשאו, חסו מסעיהם תפילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, kiva orekum yorim. Uri, shir daberi, kevod Adonai ala yekila. Lecha dodi likrat kala. B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala. B'nei Shabbat nekabela.
Please rise.
Glory v'shalom, ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'gzola. Toch emunei, am segula, boi chala, Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala.
All right, you may be seated. Are we doing Shalom Aleichem? No. No, okay. Moving on. Chassid Kaddish on page 144. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabba Be'elmad yirach yotev yamlik machutei B'chayechon uvyomechon Uchayerecho Beit Yisrael Bagala Uvizman kariv V'imru amen Yehesh me rabba mevarak Le'olam ulam me'almaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach V'yipar v'yipramam v'yitnase V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei kudasha b'richu Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata Damiran be'alma V'imru amen. We now turn to the Baruch Hu on page 146. When you arrive there, I invite you to stand with us. Seated, we move on to Ma'ariv Aravim on page 148.
Umavir yom, umevir laila, umavir ben yom uven laila, Adonai tzvaot shemo, el chai v'kayam, tamid yimlok, aleinu le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'mariv Aravim. מבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך, עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב הערבים, יא לה לה לה, 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 יא לה 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 Ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la la la.
And now we move over to page 151, and we're going to read the top of that page in English. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know, and lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. We move to page 154 for the Shema. We have the Shema together. Here we go. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malechuto Leolam Va'em. We now move over to the V'ahavta on page 154. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meyodecha v'hayu ha'devarim ha'eleh asher anachi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinartam levarnecha v'divartam ba'am B'shivtecha b'votecha uvliktecha havam derech ushofbecha uvkumecha ukshartam leyot al yamdecha v'hayu latotafot necha uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha Lamam tiskeru, vatzitem echol mitzvotai, vitem kiroshim leilo echem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzetim echem eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem leelohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem emet. And we're now moving over to the Micha Mocha on page 158.
Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 Ikamocha Alim Adonai Ikamocha Yedar Bakodesh Norati Lod Oseh Melech
We move over to Vishamru on page 162.
We're going to call up Ross.
Oh, Ross is coming up. Cool.
Hi, guys.
Amen.
All right, now if you all would be so kind to stand with me for the Amidah on page 164. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agita hilatecha. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agita hilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Ha'gibor, Ha'nora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hagol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, למען שמו יהבה, מלך עוזר מושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם עזרא שרה, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה כל אתה רב יושיע, מוריד הטל, מחיה חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך על גבורו, ומינו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצליח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיו, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. We will now continue silently until page 180. You may be seated whenever you like.
Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Israel. Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Israel.
All right, now some words of Torah. So since High Holidays is so close, what I'm doing this evening is kind of rewarding all of you for being here. I'm going to give you a little taste of one of my sermons I'll have for High Holidays. It's kind of a shorter version of one of my sermons I'm preparing for it. So here we go. At the beginning of this week's Torah portion, Moses, who was wrapping up his speech, says something that I find really fascinating. He says, "Today, what I have taught you, you should no longer be confusing nor beyond your reach." And I love this statement. Moses has been laying the foundation for Israel's system of governance for the whole book of Deuteronomy. During his conclusion of these instructions, he wraps it up by announcing that these laws are accessible and designed for everyone. And why I love this is that if the Israelites are going to believe in Adonai, they're also going to believe that no one is outside of these laws. Kings, priests, and shepherds are all expected to follow the Torah and its system of justice. Much like monotheism, this is such an innovative idea. Historically, laws are mostly established by a king announcing them to his subjects. We have archaeological and historical evidence for this. For example, the famous Rosetta Stone, not to be confused with the language learning app. It was written by King Ptolemy in the 5th century in Egypt. And in it, he addresses his subjects with his new decrees and laws. Another famous example is the Magna Carta, which was written by King John in England, and it is a charter of rights for the English people. Now, these two examples were written well after Moses' speech, of course, and they are both written from the perspective of a monarchy. And Israel is also famous for having its own monarchy, King David and King Solomon being quite famous for this. And we also have the whole book in our Tanakh called Kings. So a monarchy is certainly a thing in ancient Israel. However, Moses is not describing a government that is led solely by a king in the book of Deuteronomy. Moses describes a government that's guided by Adonai and pursues justice through a judicial system. Yet often, it's the narrative of the Israelite kings that steals the spotlight of the Israelites' organized government. In this way, the Israelites' innovation of a strong judicial system is not even really fully understood until Western societies begin experimenting with different forms of government themselves. When they do, it's almost as if Deuteronomy is waiting for them. The Bible, which is incredibly popular and very much relevant in every century leading up to our forefathers' governmental tinkering, contained ideas not fully realized until we were able to cast off the yoke of a monarchy. As soon as we did, we were able to look at our Tanakh in a brand new way and discover that Deuteronomy has been waiting for us this whole time. It's almost as if Moses is talking to us. And Moses says, "These teachings are not so far up in the heavens so that you can't say, 'Who should go up to the heavens and collect the Torah for us?'" And Moses continues, "Neither are my teachings beyond the seas, so y'all can't say, 'Who should sail across the sea and collect the Torah for us?' No," says Moses, "this is very close to you, in your mouth and in your hearts to observe it." It's statements like these that show me how much of a living text our Tanakh is for us. Moses is telling us a government that's nuanced, fair, and judicial is not just possible, but accessible. It took people like our own forefathers to really understand his message. A message that says, a government shall pursue justice before it does anything else. Thank you. Okay, so now we're moving on to the Misha Berach on page 371, and I will read the list of those in our community members who are in need of healing, and they are Tina Mink, Chris Converse, Jennifer Eskridge, Ian Clift, David Tobias, Katie Flagel, Lindsay Raber, Doug Franklin, Micah Purdy, Cheryl Embriani, Laura Allen, Susan Super, Mary Jo Robinson, Melba Cook, Emmy Webb, Stephen Lamp, Russell Crass, Bill Ross, Alan Friedman, Russ Nog, Ross Rumack, Norma Haas, Connie Craig, Ray Ellis, and Judy Cantor. If there's someone who you are thinking of, please feel free to say them out loud in your hearts. Okay, 371.
Sheberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
All right, we now continue with the Eleni, which you can find on page 587 of your prayer books. And when you do, I invite you to rise with us as we recite. Continue on page 591. Remain standing for the Mourner's Kaddish, which you can find on page 598 of your prayer books. And in our own community, we're thinking about these yard sites this week. Dolores Arceo, Larry Druxman, Seymour Gould, Ruth Gould, Howard Harris, Robert Helling, and Charles Hoytesh. If there's anyone who you are thinking of, please feel free to say their names out loud or in your hearts. We're also thinking about those who died in Afghanistan this last couple of weeks as well, Afghans and Americans. Zikunom livracha, may the memories be for a blessing. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabba, be'elma divrach yote v'yamlik malchute, b'chayechon u'v'yamechon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarak le'olam u'lamei almaya, yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yitpa'ar v'yitbramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei kudasha barichu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemayim, V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, amen. You may be seated. Okay, announcements. Got a lot to talk about. Tomorrow we have our Exploring Liturgy class at 9:30 on our Zoom room, followed by our tech study at 10:30. But I think the most important thing to talk about is High Holidays, which are coming right up. We have our High Holiday schedule on our website. It looks a lot like this. So if you want to go to our website, you can find there's a few more out there as well. And so we have everything that's going on is on this list. I'll look at a few that's coming up really quickly. So September 6th is Erev Rosh Hashanah, which will be at 7 p.m. and it'll be over our YouTube channel, Alaska Judaism Media. So that'll be online September 6th at 7 p.m. And then the next day, September 7th, will be Rosh Hashanah first day, starting at 10:30, also on our YouTube channel, Alaska Judaism Media. And then we will have Tashlik at 1:30, which will be outside at Bicentennial Park on Campbell Airstrip Road. So those are the things coming up in the near future. And then we will also have second day Rosh Hashanah on September 8th at 10:30 on our YouTube channel as well. And then September 12th, which is a week from this upcoming Sunday, we have a lot going on that day. We've got a family program over Zoom at 10 a.m. Then we have our Keter Avot V'Imahot. That's when we go over to our community's gravesite and go and clean off the graves there. And that's at 12:30. And then we have Reverse Tashlik at 3 at Cheney Lake. And Reverse Tashlik is a national program where we clean up areas around water. So we're going to go to Cheney Lake and clean up sort of the trash over there. So those are the things coming up. And then, of course, we have Erev Yom Kippur on September 15th at 7. And September 16th is at 10:30 is when we have morning Yom Kippur. So there's a lot. And if you want, once again, we have the schedule up on our website at frozenchosen.org if you want to get it there. And I think that's everything, right? Am I missing anything? Feels good? Okay, all right. Morning Minyan, which will be on Wednesday at 8. And yes, on our Zoom room. So please come to that if you can as well. Thank you, Ross. Anything else, Medicine? Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to High Holidays beginning real soon, and it's super exciting. All right. So remind me what now? That's right. You want Shalom Aleichem to close off with, right? What page is that on? All right. Closing melody. Shalom Aleichem 142.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharem, Malachei
Shana Tova, and we'll see. I guess y'all will see us on Monday night, but we won't necessarily be seeing you, unfortunately. But it's a little one-directional, I guess. But oh well. Anyways, yeah. Thank you for coming.
Physically happening here on tomorrow, Shabbat?
No. Yeah.
Just right.
Yep, you got it. All right.